my name is Corey Green. I'm with Hub Technology Group and I work as a sales consultant for IT services. Today I'm going to be showing a demonstration of Cloud and Touch and the Communicator soft phone app. Right here on our first screen, what you're seeing is effectively the landing page of our solution. Right from the first screen, you can start to derive certain aspects of what's going on with the organization internally here. So as an example, you can see that Brett Taylor, one of our account managers, is away from his desk at the minute, and Julia, as an example, is on the phone. And that's indicated by the little red icon beside her profile picture. Now, you can use this to say, well, maybe I'm not going to call Julia back right now. I'm going to wait until she's off the phone. And also for Brett, hey, he's away, so he may not pick up when I choose to call him. And you can also see some people that might be away. Renee Dingra, as an example, is away on maternity leave, and she won't be back in the office, and you can see that she hasn't been seen since August 8th. This, of course, is, again, just an internal directory of contacts, but you also have the opportunity to port in a list of contacts as well. This may be something that you've done through Outlook if you've kept a list of phone numbers of either customers or maybe partners and things of that nature, where you may want to add in some folks to have effectively a speed dial. You'll notice, for myself, I don't tend to keep this list. One of the things that I'll normally do is if I'm curious about a number, I will simply go to Google it. And I'll pull up our Hub Technology Group website. This is our homepage. For me, I would tend just to go find some contact information. If I scroll down to the bottom of our website, you'll see all the phone numbers in which you can reach Hub Technology Group, but you'll also notice a little blue icon sitting beside all of those numbers. If I were to click onto one of these numbers and open up my unified communications tool, I can place a call directly to Hub Technology Group, which I'm doing right now. I'll choose to hang up. And because this has integration to my web browser, I have the opportunity to have that plug in and make calls directly from any sort of web page. As I go back to my Communicator soft phone, you'll see as I pan down across, there's some other things that I'm able to do. So one is add a list of favorites. Now, I like to joke around that I don't play any favorites at Hub Technology Group, but if I did, I could have a fluid list of people that I may be calling back somewhat frequently. Maybe that's an internal list. You could also have an external list as well. Maybe some clients that you're working alongside day to day. You'd want to have these in here so you can have a speed dial. One of my favorite features of having a soft phone, especially coming from a world where maybe you use an analog phone system today with a piece of hardware that sits on a desk, the history that you see for missed calls, received calls, and even dialed calls can somewhat be sort of challenging to derive information from. So one of the things that you'll often see is folks that use a handset sitting on their desk is they can see one call at a time. So you have to filter through that list by pushing a button over and over again to try and see which calls that you've missed. What I like about this is I have the opportunity in one quick snapshot to see everything that was missed. But I can also start to filter for calls maybe that I had received. Same idea, I can look at everything that's been received on my extension and anything that I've dialed out. And to be able to place a call to one of these folks, I would simply just click and start making the call. The other thing the soft phone will come with in terms of dialing out is a dialer. So right now you'll see that with my mouse, I'm clicking and I'm just selecting a phone number. I can also use my keypad as well. So now I'm just typing on my desktop to be able to place out a call, and simply just push the button and start placing a call similar to any phone app that you have. Now we'll look to place a call coming in. So on my cell phone, I'm just dialing in to our company phone number. And now you're seeing a call coming in. I can put them on hold. I can mute my extension as well in case I'm in a noisy area, or I can choose to park it or transfer this call to somebody else. Perhaps I want to send it to another extension in our office, or look for a particular person. As an example, maybe I want to transfer this call to Alaya. I would transfer that call to her. Now she's receiving the call in which I've transferred. Now I'd like to take you through a few other features that you'll notice are at the top of the soft phone. So one is, with this solution, it will come with a conference bridge. You can have a 20-person conference bridge with unlimited minutes coming into that call. And all that's required for that is what we call a direct inward dial, basically a phone number, so that we have somewhere to host those calls. You can also split that conference bridge up in any which way that you see fit. So maybe some folks would like 2 10-person conference bridges or 4 5-person conference bridges. The only thing to note there is for every conference bridge that we set up, a phone number is needing to be required. The solution also comes with video conferencing as well. As part of the solution, you can have 3-person instant meetings. Where I find this comes in handy is if I'm on the phone with, say, one of my colleagues, and there's something maybe that I want to show them. So I'm on the phone and I say, hey, we're talking about this. Hey, let me just show it to you. Perhaps that's a memo from the organization. I would simply start a meeting with the person I'm on the phone with, and from there I can stream content the way I would on, say, a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting as well. You can also add full conferencing into this if you've not standardized on something like Teams or Zoom, or you find that you want some of the features inside of this versus, say, Teams or Zoom, and that can be set up at any time throughout the term of having Communicator. And as I take you through some more features at the top, you'll notice that there's one for chat. This allows us to communicate internally as an organization. And so as I open up my chat function, you'll see a number of the different chats that I have here. This one happens to be with Elia in our office. You can get a sense of what the messaging would feel like. As an example, I might say, hey, Elia, how is it going today? And this really is for some quick dialogue inside of the organization. All of the contacts that you saw on that opening screen with my internal directory are inside of our chat functionality. And you can do things like add documents without a file size limit. Sometimes that comes in handy. If you're needing to send something over email, but it's just too large of a file, you can send it through this chat functionality. And the other thing I really like about it is being able to have group dialogue as well. So one example is we have our entire sales team chat, and you'll notice that there's 16 participants inside of this. Where I find this to become very valuable is if you have, a lot of, say, email dialogue internally. There are a lot of different people that are chiming into one particular thread, but email tends to be very professional, really thought out, and you're going to have paragraphs and proper phrasing. But as you thumb out one of those emails, you'll notice maybe somebody else has chimed in a lot quicker, and then now everything that you've done over email is either a moot point or maybe slightly less relevant than it was as you were starting to type out that email. Where I find this becomes very beneficial is, number one, it's implicitly quick. So it's an SMS feel. You're going to have very quick dialogue as opposed to fully framed paragraphs. And moreover, it's all very chronological in order, so you can see who responded and when they responded. You can also go in, and in an example of, say, a one-person dialogue, I'm able to see who's received messages from me. So as an example, you'll notice that I've messaged Elia and you can see one check mark beside it. What that's indicating is I've sent that message, but Elia has not yet received it. You'll also see in a message with Gary, there's 2 blue check marks. That's indicating that Gary has not only received that message, but he's also read it as well. This allows me to understand, hey, did somebody get the information that I was sending them, or do I need to follow back up with them? Maybe they hadn't had the opportunity to read it. Also on different features that we have here, you'll notice voicemail. I really like the voicemail feature, especially if, again, you're working on an analog phone system today, and the one way that you're receiving emails is to be beside that phone, pick it up, and then ultimately check for voicemail, or you have to dial in to a voicemail to be able to get any of your messages. What I find happens there is oftentimes you're slow to be able to respond to a voicemail because nothing really prompted you that you have one. You got to make it part of a workflow to go back and check to see maybe what you've missed. Whereas this will allow me the opportunity right from my desktop PC to have all the voicemails that have been left for me. Again, I've got a test voicemail that I've put up here from myself. And you'll notice it's 14 seconds in length. As I click on it, I'm now playing it. The other thing that really helps here is I can buffer along this message. So I can start to go to the important bits. That could be, say, a callback number, maybe who the person is or what they're looking for. But what I don't have to do is listen to the whole thing, and then maybe I missed the number that was at the beginning or at the end, and then I have to listen to the whole thing again. So I find this really helps me be quick in understanding what's pertinent out of a voicemail, but it's also very difficult for me to miss one because it's always prompting me that I have a new voicemail that's been left. You'll also see that you can save old messages. Maybe there's something important that you just want to store in your quick files here to be able to understand, oh, I've got to call this person back, or something you just want to keep inside of your communicator. But what I find becomes very beneficial as I go over to more voicemail features inside of our online self-care. I also have the opportunity to download voicemails directly into my server files, or maybe those are OneDrive files that I want to be able to store. Where this can come in handy is there's something that's been left in voicemail that you want to put on, say, a client file, so it's kept on record. Perhaps it's something to do with customer service or wanting information. You can always have that dialogue saved as part of a holistic account structure. You also have the opportunity to forward voicemails. So every once in a while, you may get a voicemail that was left on your machine, but it was actually for someone else. I have the opportunity to forward it to another extension, and I would just enter that extension in here and then forward it along to one of my colleagues. That also comes up where somebody may be answering the phone or going through a particular extension to be able to intake certain messages and pass them along throughout the organization, where that can be really beneficial as you do not have to record down what was said in a voicemail and then email it off to someone. You can simply forward it directly from this screen as well. The other way that you can set up your voicemail is a voicemail to email. I've done that. So if there's a voicemail that gets left inside of my emails, I'll be able to see that a voicemail was left on my extension. That for me really works inside of the workflow, where at the end of the day, I do one more check through my emails, everything that I've received for that day, and I'll notice that there's a voicemail. Perhaps that's something that I need to action for the next day. But what I like about that is it's really, really difficult for me to miss anything throughout the day. Not only am I going to see it on my soft phone right here, it'll also be on our mobile application as well, which I'm going to show in a little bit, but then it'll also be in my email. So I have a very good chance of seeing one of those things almost instantaneously when something was left for me, and I'm able to action it quicker. You'll notice one final feature that's sitting up top right here. We do have the ability to configure this with an SMS number to be able to text. I talked about chat and our internal dialogue with our colleagues, but you also have the opportunity to plug in another phone number so you're able to text externally. Perhaps that's something that you want to do with clients, perhaps partners, but this allows you the opportunity to really have a holistic text dialogue with organizations, but not having to give out that private phone number. Perhaps that's a personal cell phone number. You have the opportunity to keep that inside of the organization and inside of the hosted voice over IP solution. This would interact like any other text messaging system that you have, whether you're an Android user or an iPhone user. You'd have the opportunity to store your texts and share dialogue, pictures, whatever it is that you'd be texting. I'll go back into online self-care and you can start to see a few things. Immediately, you can get a sense of how much time have you spent on the phone, what voicemails do you have out there, whether you have a do not disturb on or off, or if you're call forwarding, perhaps you're on vacation and you want your calls to forward directly to someone else, you're able to be able to do that. And you can see total talk time along with calls that you've answered throughout the day. And as I go over to CDR, so this is our call detail report. And this allows us to see everything that's happened on my personal extension. This can come in handy. Perhaps you want to be able to check all the calls that you made inside of the month of July. I would simply filter for all of it and search it. So this will look for all of the calls placed, received, and missed from the month of July. Now keep in mind, this is all of the information for my personal extension, but I have the opportunity to filter for certain aspects. Perhaps I want to see all of the calls from Joseph Evans, who's at extension 350. I would search for that and filter through for everything on that particular extension from that particular person. And where that's able to come in handy is how much time did I spend talking to Joe? Was that a valuable use of my time? But the other thing it does is say, perhaps Joe says, hey, Corey, I tried to call you on this day and time and you never called me back. I could go back in here and say, well, actually, I did call you back and it was at this time. The other thing it allows you to do, of course, is look at the organization holistically. I'm, of course, just showing you my personal extension today, but the administrator of our entire Cloud and Touch infrastructure would be able to see all of the extensions. This can be very beneficial in trying to analyze what extensions do I require. This particular person, say, has not received or placed a phone call in over a month. Do they actually require a phone extension? Maybe we can get inside of the role and say, well, it's not really a phone role. Perhaps they work in a warehouse and they're not going to need access to a phone. Perhaps we can streamline the extensions inside of the organization only to keep the ones that are most pertinent. You'll see many of our customers will have different reasons as to why they have this data or how they're going to evaluate this data. But if I go and take this, I have the opportunity to extract all of this information into an Excel sheet. This can come in handy. Oftentimes, folks would want to see how many calls are my team making, how many calls are being received by my team, how much time are they spending on the phone. We'll see it a lot in, say, a legal industry where folks will use this to be able to dock it so they can understand how much time they've spent on the phone as opposed to manually having to enter that type of information. And it can also just be a measure of accountability across the organization to make sure that our people are calling back the folks that are required and the people that have called into the business. You can do all of the same things with meetings. If you had the video conferencing as a part of this, or if you had SMS, you can report on all that type of information as well. The solution will also come preloaded with fax. Again, all that's required is a fax line. We would put that into our system and allow folks to be able to both send and receive faxes through Communicator. If I were to want to send a fax, I simply go to send fax, and not unlike an email attachment, I would simply select a file that I want to fax. It would open up my server files, and I can pick any document inside of this and send it along as a PDF and be able to put in a fax number and the person that I'm sending the fax to. This would go and get sent like any other fax that was sent to an organization, depending on what's on their side. Perhaps that's set up to a photocopier and would output for them. But ultimately, you have the opportunity to do this without having to have a hard copy of a document. Where this comes in handy is if you look at, say, remote work structures where fax is still a day-to-day requirement, folks that aren't in the office have the opportunity right from their desktop to select any file that they want that's digitized and send it along. The way that we would receive these faxes is have it set up to an email. As an example, fax@hubtgi.com. Anybody that sends us a fax can go directly to there. And on the back end, what we would do is configure different folks who may want to view faxes, all as a part of a particular DL. And lastly, up here on the soft phone, you can set up a few different things as well. Perhaps you want to set your status message. If you're going away, you can create a custom status and maybe say on vacation until August 20th. That message would be stored and folks would know that I'm away for that period of time. You can also set it as busy, do not disturb, or put your phone on DND. So effectively no calls would come through and get punted directly to voicemail.